Hello everybody, welcome today. Today we're going to talk about caring for your equipment, really what you should be doing to make sure that when you get to the golf course, your equipment's at its best and that you're creating longevity with your equipment. But before I begin, we've got a sponsor today. I want to give a shout out to King's Material Corp. They're a neighbor here on Scales Lane. Brett and the boys over there do an amazing job where you get a couple weeks left here to do these projects outside. If you need materials, bark mulch, we just had some delivered here to make the place look great. Get those projects done. They'll deliver right to your home, and then you've got 6 months of all the projects are done. You don't have to worry about them anymore, and you can play golf. So we'll talk about equipment. Some of the things I see a lot of people leave their clubs in their trunk, and we live in New England, and in New England the weather's constantly changing. It's 30 degrees one day and 80 the next. So I highly recommend that you don't leave them in the trunk, and the reason for this is you get hot days, it gets really hot in there, and what happens is a lot of companies, especially in stock produced golf clubs, the epoxy they use is a quick set epoxy. They don't use very much of it. It's put on by a robot probably, but in any regard, if there's not a lot of epoxy in there, it's easy for it to heat up, and then basically what will happen is your head will loosen off the shaft, or sometimes the ferrule will come down. So a lot of times, if you get a club where the head slips off or it breaks or whatnot, it could be because of where you're storing your golf clubs. If you're leaving them in the trunk and it's cooling down and heating up, you're definitely putting your clubs at risk for getting damaged. So strongly recommend that. Keep your clubs at room temperature. To piggyback off that, golf balls, we're coming out of the winter months here. If you've had your clubs stored in the garage, or you've stored golf balls in the garage or a dozen golf balls, I've had multiple times people where balls don't perform correctly. They kind of feel dead. They don't go nearly as far because they've been stored in a cold environment for the winter. So if you've got balls in your bag, maybe we transition those to range balls if they've been stored in the garage or in a cold area all winter. You want to make sure that the balls you're playing perform, whatever ball those are, and so that's a big key to it. Normally, conditionally, when you're on the golf course, if you're playing in cold conditions, I would transition and use a softer golf ball, and a lot of it has to do with compression, right? So when it's cold, it doesn't compress as much. When it's hot, it compresses more. So if you're playing on a cold day, 20, 30 minutes before you get out there, make sure you take a couple balls out, put them in your pocket, warm those puppies up, and they will definitely perform a little bit better when you get on the golf course. So when you do get out there, a lot of people are meticulous about how they clean their golf clubs. Some leave the dirt right on it. So I'm not telling you have to clean them or do anything different, but it is going to affect the way your club performs. So when I clean, I like to have a brush and a towel. Just make sure that I'm getting those grooves clean. Basically, when we talked about the club fitting aspect, we talked about how every club in your bag is a different length, a different lie angle, and a different loft. And the premise behind that is because your shorter clubs, we want to launch higher and spin more. And your longer clubs, we want them to launch lower and spin less. And that's going to effectively change your distance. So if you have grass or dirt in your grooves, when that ball gets on the face, what's going to happen is it's not going to have as much interaction. It's not going to spin as much. And you'll get shots that tend to knuckle and then don't go the right distance. And really, it's important to make sure that all your clubs spin differently and spin a discernible difference, especially as you get towards the bottom of the bag, down by your wedges. They have to be clean. The grooves have to be clean. And for a lot of you, if you're using wedges that you've used for a long time, if you look at them and the grooves almost feel like they're kind of like bent together and they're spaced together, or you've got any warping in your face, it's time to get new wedges, right? So those clubs are scoring clubs. If you notice that you hit your wedge and the ball goes up and it kind of knuckles, and then when it hits the green, it releases out. It's not really grabbing it all. A lot of that is because of warping in the face or your grooves. So just make sure you're keeping those grooves clean. If you happen to get out there and you play on rainy days, I see this a lot, make sure that you take your golf clubs out of your bag and take the head covers off. If you don't, you'll start to get rusting in some of your golf clubs. And again, you know, if you want longevity out of your equipment, you gotta take care of them. And then the last piece that I see in regards to golf club is the grip. So most often, you know, people come in and they need their grips changed. I recommend you get your grips changed depending on how much you play golf, every year to 2 years. But you can get more out of your grips, and you can get more shelf life out of your grips if you clean them and wash them. So once a week, once every other week, it's really simple. You just take some dish soap, put it in a bucket of water. You know, you put your grip in, and you're gonna take a towel, and you're gonna you're gonna scrape that puppy down, and then you're gonna let it air dry. What happens is it gets the oils out, a lot of the tackiness comes back, and your grips will feel new. So you can extend the longevity in your grips if you just take care of them. We'll transition then into shoes. So I see a lot of people, especially now with a lot of the spikeless shoes, most everything's got a 2-year warranty on it. And then these spikeless shoes, you can't change the spikes on them. So, you know, odds are you're gonna get 2 years out of these shoes. They're very comfortable, but they start to lose grip on the bottom, and you know, you'll lose longevity there. So what are some things that you can do? If you walk, you're gonna put more wear and tear on your shoes than if you ride. But when you do walk, just try and stay off pavement, right? If you stay off pavement and you stay on grass, you're gonna put less friction on the bottom of those shoes. You're gonna extend the longevity, especially if you have spikeless shoes. For those of you that do have spikes, same thing. You know, try and limit the amount that you walk on pavement. If you do that, you're gonna enhance the longevity of your shoes. If you do have shoes that have spikes in them, you know, again, you need to be making sure that that you're changing those. I'd say every year to 2 years. It's on a very similar cycle to the grips. A lot of it depends on, you know, your golf swing too. If you're putting certain pressure, you know, on the heel or on the toe or on the outer perimeter of your shoes a lot, you'll notice that those specific spikes get worn down a little bit. So take a look at the bottom of your shoes. If they look like nubs and you can't see any of the outside, definitely time to get your spikes changed, or look into getting some new shoes. But like I said, you can probably, if you take care of your equipment, you take care of your shoes, they're going to perform for you. You can get more life out of them. So that's all I have for today. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again this week. Take care.